Hi, this is Mrs. Groves, and I am going to attempt to explain to you a problem that is difference of two random variables. So in this problem right here, we're going to be talking about a difference of two random variables, and it's very important that you know how to do these problems for our tests and for the AP exam. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this problem with you and show you how to kind of think about it. So we have Ed and Adele, okay, that attend the same high school, but are in different math classes. The time E that takes Ed to do math homework. So we have a random variable E for Ed, follows a normal distribution. And then we have, we'll just call her Adele for right now. And she has, for her math homework, has a normal distribution with a mean of 50 minutes and a standard deviation of 10 minutes. So the first thing you want to do is you want to define your variables. So you want to make sure that you know that the random variable E is Ed's amount of time on homework, and Adele, we're just going to call her Addie, amount of time on homework. So we want to make sure that we understand what the two random variables are. And we also want to look and define the distributions for Ed and Addie. So Ed, you have been told, has a normal distribution. It's approximately normal with a mean of 25 minutes and a standard deviation of 5 minutes. Addie also has a distribution that's been stated to be normal, and she takes 50 minutes with a standard deviation of 10. All right? So it's important that you set this up at the beginning so you understand what the difference is. Okay? Now bear with me, this is the first time I'm making a video with this application, and so any feedback you want to provide is great. So we're going to do question A. Right? And for question A, it says we randomly selected one math assignment of Ed's and one math assignment of Addie's. And they're telling you, and I will not be doing this, and the AP exam will not be doing this, what the difference random variable is. So the difference that they're saying is the difference between Addie minus Ed. And I like the way they've done this because you can see that Addie has a higher mean than Ed. So when we take the difference from Addie to Ed, okay, we're going to have a positive number. And I always like to work with positive numbers. So we now have to find the mean difference. Okay, and here we know that Addie is 50 Ed is 25, so simply the difference is 50 minus 25, okay? And that is a difference of 25. Now we want to find the standard deviation of D. And when we have two random variables and we take the difference, okay, we are still going to get a standard deviation that is going to be larger. So we never subtract the standard deviations. We always add them because we're going to have more variability. So here, we want to find the standard deviation of the difference. And so to do that, we were given standard deviations. But to find the standard deviation, when you combine random variables, you have to use the variance. So Addie, we're going to take 10 squared, and Ed is 5 squared. Okay, oops. That was 25. Okay, and when we do that, and you plug that into your calculator, you're going to get 11.18. And for the mean and standard deviation, it is good to include the units. So it's 11.18 minutes for the standard deviation for the difference. And it's 25-minute mean difference. Okay, that's bothering me. All right, so that is 25 minutes. So that is the answer. Okay, and it says find the mean and the standard deviation. Great. So we're all set. We found the mean, we found the standard deviation for the difference between Addie and Ed. Okay, our next question is find the probability that Ed spends more time than Addie on his homework. Okay. So question B is the probability that Ed spends more time than Addie. And I usually like to do this so that I make sure that I understand what the difference is. So here, we now have to put this in terms of our random variable. So we can just use algebra. So we can write that that's the probability, okay, that 0 is greater, okay. Basically, we subtracted e from both sides. And I find it easier to rewrite it. So we want the probability that a minus e is less than 0, or the probability that D is less than 0. So we have up here, okay, we wanted to know what's the probability that Ed is going to be spending more time than Addie on homework. And so we have to convert this into our random variable for the difference. And that's a minus e. And then this is just simple algebra. Right. So that worked out there. So we want the probability that the difference is less than 0. And we're going to draw our normal graph. And we know that D is approximately normal. Now, we know that D is approximately normal because we were told that Ed distribution is normal and Addie's distribution is normal. So since both of those are normal, the difference is normal. Okay. So the difference is approximately normal with, what did we say? The mean was 25 and the standard deviation was 11.18. All right, so here's our mean. Our mean is at 25. Right here is 0. And here is the area or the probability that we're looking for. So now we are forced by the people that have put the curriculum out for AP Stats to find a Z-score. All right, so we want to find the difference between 0 and 25 and make that a Z-score. So that's simply 0 minus 25 divided by 11.18. Okay, and of course now I have to go to my handy dandy calculator because on my website we didn't used to have to do this. So negative 25 divided by 11.18 gives me a standard deviation of negative 2.24. Okay. So here were the values for D, and if you want, you can put your Z values right under here. This is negative 2.24, and our mean is 0. Now you know that if this is negative 2.24, then this is going to be a very small probability. So the probability that Z is less than or equal to negative 2.24, we're going to use the normal CDF command, and we're going to put negative infinity and then we are going to go to 0, and we're going to use a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. Okay, my bad. I didn't do this correctly. Please bear with me. This is the first time I'm making videos on my iPad. So we're using negative 2.24 for our upper bound. And our lower bound is some small number like negative infinity. Our mean is 0. Our standard deviation is 1. And we get a small number, 0.0125. So our area here is 0.125. So now we have to answer this in context. Okay. Because they asked us, the question above was, find the probability that Ed spends longer on his assigned homework than Addie. So the answer is the probability Ed spends more time on homework than Addie is only 1.3% of the time. And that makes sense because Addie spends about 50 minutes on her homework and Ed only spends about 25. So I hope that helped. Please send me some feedback and let me know if this was useful and if there is any suggestions you have for me doing this.